Hey everyone, it's the Retro Raiders here, and today we're going to be celebrating the Sega Dreamcast 20th anniversary. By the time you see this video, it will be uploaded to the channel, right?
Yep. So, hi guys, my name's Austin, or better known as Cube.
And my name is Sean, better known as Dark Vice.
And we're the Retro Raiders.
Yep.
So, what are we talking about today, Sean?
Today we're going to be talking about the experiences of someone who was there for the launch of the system and someone who became a fan later on.
Yep.
So, what I want to start is I'm going to take you back to 1999. The Dreamcast. The first time I saw a Dreamcast was actually at a Toys R Us kiosk. R.I.P. Toys R Us. And the first game I actually saw, I thought it was Sonic Adventure, but it was actually Sega Rally 2.
Interesting.
At the time, I was like, oh look, Sega's making a new console. Because you have to understand, after the Sega Saturn failed in the States, even when it was still relevant, even when it was still in stores, no one talked about the Sega Saturn. It was all about the Nintendo 64 and the PlayStation. So, to me at least, my brother, my family, we had a Sega Saturn and we had a 64. So, and then the Sega Saturn stopped working. So for the longest time, I was like, is Sega just not making games anymore? Or they're not making hardware? I didn't even realize that the Sega Saturn was still around. So when I saw the Sega Dreamcast, I was like, oh look, Sega's back in the console race.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's awesome, because my grandma had a Sega Genesis and I had to be playing that, and I was like, yo, Sonic is just dope. When are we going to get a 3D Sonic game? So, after seeing the Dreamcast, I was like, yo, I want this. And I may have been like 7 or 8. Mm-hmm. No, 6 or 7. I think I was just turning 7.
Yeah.
And I told my mom, yo, this comes out in September. Can I have one? And she was like, we'll see about it. But she wasn't going to get me one. So, my dad actually ended up pre-ordering my brother one. And, I'm not going to lie, I was a bit salty. But I was just happy that we had a Sega Dreamcast in the house.
Or you were like the only kid that was like hogging it?
No, I was not. For the longest time, I was not allowed to play it.
Really?
Yeah, I would have.
Oh, that sucks.
No, and it was in my room. It was set up in my room because we had the TV and my brothers didn't have a TV, so I'd have to watch them play.
I can just see it and you're just at the corner just looking at it.
I mean, I got to play once in a while when they weren't on it, but whenever they were on it, I'd have to get off. But but the first disc that they popped in when we got the I should just go into the launch titles that my brothers picked up.
Before we get into that, I just want to say so I actually experienced the Dreamcast for the first time only 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I went over to his house. We actually met all because of a T-shirt.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Hey, you should come over to my place one day. I have a bunch of game systems, And I'm like, "What?" And he showed me some stuff online. Anyways, went to his house and I played the Sega Dreamcast. I immediately fell in love with the system.
And later on that same year, I would actually end up buying
this bad boy right here is mine.
One. I actually have a launch Dreamcast. Well, I have 2 launch Dreamcasts.
I think this one might be one too.
Yeah, that one's a launch Dreamcast too. So I have 2, and mine are at home.
So, anyways, my first experience with the Dreamcast, the first game I played on it, was it Adventure 2? I believe it was, and then I played Adventure 1.
I think it may have been one of the games that I was going to discuss. Power Stone.
Oh, okay. Well, gonna wrap this up really quickly. So the Dreamcast was quite surprising to me. I immediately fell in love with the console. It reminded me a lot of the GameCube. So I'm gonna let Sean take it over here. He's gonna show you guys all the games that he has to talk about for the Dreamcast.
So when I first played the Dreamcast, it was actually on this demo disc. This was the disc that came with the launch units, and the games that I got to experience, as previously mentioned, was Power Stone.
Yep.
Sonic Adventure.
That's actually my copy.
Yep. I also have the game, and House of the Dead 2.
So those are all the launch titles that we have. in possession.
Well, these are the games that I played.
Mm-hmm.
These were the launch titles I got to play. But later on that same month, we ended up picking up Calibur, which was also a launch title.
Is that the original one you got?
This is not the original one we got. That one did not last very long.
Or let me guess, like, did your siblings use it as a frisbee disc?
Yeah, my siblings used it as a frisbee disc. But, seeing Sonic Adventure for the first time, incredible. I remember doing it to myself when I first saw Emerald Coast. Mm-hmm. Thinking to myself, games are never going to look this good again. We've hit the pinnacle.
20 years later?
Yeah, but just the experience. Like, to quote one of my favorite YouTubers, Hyper Console Gamer, when he did his Super Mario 64 review.
Yeah.
He was like, we had taken our friend in 2D and brought him to 3D. And this was my experience. Because Sonic was my favorite game character at the time. So to see a fully 3D Sonic game, beyond imaginable. It was unimaginable. I had never seen anything like that.
I got something to say about Sonic Adventure, or later on we're going to be showing Adventure 2. We're going to be talking about that. But my first experience with the Sonic Adventure games was on the GameCube. The GameCube was my first ever home console that I ever owned. So my first ever experience with a 3D or Sonic game was Sonic Adventure 2. I saw a ad for it on Sonic Mega Collection, and I was like, "Hey, Mom, can you get me this game for Easter or something like that?" And she got me the game, and I immediately fell in love with the game. I didn't see any flaws in the game, but now if you look at the games, they're heavily flawed.
They're heavily flawed, but they're both really good.
Yeah.
For the time, you have to understand this. This was like, when this game launched, it was 1998 when it launched in Japan.
Huh, yeah.
And think about it, we're talking, in a lot of ways, this looks better than a lot of Wii games.
Yeah, it does.
Think about that for a moment. Like, he experienced Sonic Adventure 2, so the first one wasn't that big of a huge surprise or
to be honest,
reaction.
I got Adventure DX not too long after. Like, to be honest, I never knew it existed until I saw it in GameStop one day. I was with my mom and she happened to let me buy a game from GameStop because I helped her with work one day, and I saw Sonic Adventure DX. I'm like, wait, there's another Sonic Adventure game?
Yeah. So.
And then I popped it in. I'm like, wow, this is actually kind of nice. Like, I really didn't see much of a graphical difference. Like, yes, it looked a little bit nicer than Adventure 2, but it looked pretty close, like, in the eyes of my 12-year-old self or 8-year-old self or whenever I played it.
So, the next game I want to talk about is, Ready to Rumble Boxing?
Let's get ready to rumble!
Yes. This game was interesting because up until this game, I did not care about boxing whatsoever. And it's a midway game. So if you play NBA Jam or the Blitz series, you know that Midway has whenever they make an arcade sports game, you don't have to be a fan of the specific sport to enjoy it. Right. Because it's so arcadey and so fun. Yeah. And I think this game really captures that. It's not the easiest game to learn the controls for. It's not a traditional fighting game. Yeah. So if you're like me, from a traditional fighting game background, it's going to be a little tough for you to get around to the controls. But at the time, it blew me away. And I was like, this game's camp, this game's fun. It's just funny to play. It's funny to look back on. And when I first played Power Stone, this game blew me away.
I was blown away when I first played it. The first time I ever experienced Power Stone or heard of Power Stone was when I went to his house that time and played the Dreamcast.
And just so you know, this is a replay cover, yes, but it is
the actual game,
the original game. So when I played this, when I first saw the Power Stones, I thought they were KSM Emeralds. I was like,
I could see that.
I was like, oh wait,
is this an Easter egg or is this
I don't know.
Are they trying to rip off Sonic?
Because I knew it was made by Capcom.
Right.
But at the time, I was like, the Sonic team helped them take some pointers. But no, This game blew my mind. We did not. I don't believe we owned this back in the day. But I remember playing it on the demo. We may have owned it back in the day. Again, it was my brother's Dreamcast, so he would have known better. But a game that completely changed everything for me was this. The Soul Burns, the original Soul Calibur. The night they popped this in, the intro alone blew my mind. I was like...
This...
Like, Sonic made me think games are never going to get better than this.
This took it to a whole new
This basically
level.
solidified it for me at the time. That, yeah, games weren't going to get any better than this.
Yeah.
Another launch, the last launch title.
My first ever experience with Soul Calibur, I think, was, I believe, Soul Calibur 4, possibly, and then I played 2 after.
Yeah. And the last launch title that I got to play from the demo disc was House of the Dead 2.
That game's fantastic. It's a great multiplayer game.
It's incredible how well this plays on the DVD.
Yeah, no, like we were like having some sessions yesterday, and we were just having a great time
during the recording sessions. This game, grab a friend. You don't need light guns. Just grab a friend, grab 2 controllers.
You will have one hell of a time.
You will have a blast playing this. It is so good. Some of the games that we... do you have anything you want to say about these games?
Not really, like I was saying, Power Stone definitely blew my mind of how great of a multiplayer game it is. Definitely House of the Dead. Soul Calibur, yeah, so like what I was trying to say earlier was Soul Calibur 1. I never really experienced it until I played it on the Dreamcast, and I was like, my gosh, Soul Calibur has come a long way.
It really has. Some games that we...
Yep, we got some more games here.
Some games that we would play later on, or I would play later on, and then by extension he would play, or the original Marvel vs. Capcom.
It's a really fun game.
It's a really fun game. The first time I played this wasn't actually on the Dreamcast, it was in the arcade.
Oh, nice.
And I
think I might have played on the arcade once.
And I was
when
like, oh look, Mega Man is in this game. That's cool, because, not gonna lie, wasn't a huge fan of Street Fighter at the time when I played it.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
You?
I loved Power Stone, but I just was not a fan of Street Fighter. I was more of a Virtual Fighter guy.
Yeah.
But when I played this, I was like, yo, this is a cool game, but I suck at it. And then my brother came by, and he was like, don't worry, I'll redeem you. And he was the one who owned the Dreamcast. So he just crushed the computer, and I'm like, yo, that's dope.
So it was like how I was playing that game at the Retro Store yesterday. Oh, I was playing a repro of Super Mario Kart 64, but it was made into a Dragon Ball kart.
Yeah, and he was like literally last place.
Yeah.
And I actually redeemed him by
or he's like, here, or give the controller to me.
And I got first place.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, and I did not know that this was a Dreamcast game at the time.
Huh.
I was like, oh, okay, it's just an arcade game, that's cool. Later on, I would go to a Dreamcast magazine, like one of these. I believe I actually have the magazine that I saw this game for the Dreamcast first.
Really?
Yeah. But when I first saw this in the magazine, I was like, yo, it's a Dreamcast game too? And I was like, yo,
I'm gonna buy this.
bro, we gotta get this. Unfortunately, we never did. But
until you became an adult.
until I became an adult. But great game. Honestly, I think a lot of people love the second one, and I love the second one. I have it on Dreamcast as well.
So you're saying this game's definitely underrated?
I think it's pretty underrated compared to the second one.
I could see that.
I think a lot of people should play this. It's also on the PlayStation, but if you want the best version, you want to get on the Dreamcast.
I'll be honest, or whenever I hear Marvel vs. Capcom for Dreamcast, I think of the second game first.
And one thing that I want to recommend when playing this or Soul Calibur, get the Dreamcast stick. Because I have it, we both used it.
Yep.
Would you say that's probably the best controller to use for fighting games on the Dreamcast? Definitely. Without a doubt.
Like, a Dreamcast controller aesthetically is nice, It's very comfy. But
I've had issues with this D-pad trying to do Hadoukens.
Yeah, definitely.
This is a good chance to show off one of the controllers, actually.
Yeah. Speaking of which, let's get into that.
The Dreamcast the controllers not only came in the typical gray Dreamcast color, but you could also get different colors and different VMUs to go along with it. Do you want to explain the VMU?
Yeah, so the VMU back in the day, apparently from what I've learned from Sean and I've learned from other YouTubers.
Basically, it was like anyone remember Tamagotchi pets?
Yes.
That's basically what this was. You could download mini games So
you would take basically a mini game from the Dreamcast, put it onto here. You could take it out on the go with you.
One of the games that supported mini games was Sonic Adventure. What you could do is you could take your Chow, you could raise it on here, and then all the stats that would you gain from your Chow would transfer over to here. And I believe
that you can make friends with your friend's Chow or something. All you have to do is you connect both the VMUs, boom,
and you could also swap data.
And so you'd be like this, and I'd be playing,
and you could swap data.
Yep. Whoops.
So to anyone who says that. Well, that was your VMU, not mine.
Yeah, true.
But to anyone who says, oh, the Wii U was innovative for having a screen on its controller,
they're wrong.
Dreamcast did it first. The awesome thing about this as well is if you were playing sports games or Resident Evil, you wouldn't have to go to the menu to look at your health. It'd be displayed here.
Oh.
And let's say you're playing a sports game, you could set up your plays here instead of on the screen, so your opponent couldn't see it.
The one thing I like about the VMU, was in, or one of the games that, we're gonna be talking about.
Do you want to just bring it up now?
Yeah. So Evolution 2, we actually don't have the first one on us currently.
Yeah.
It's coming in the mail to Sean. So, anyways, honorable mention to that. But while you're playing this game, the VMU will display how long you've been playing the game for on the little LCD screen. So I'm a guy, I just like to see how many hours I clock into a game and stuff, so I think it's kind of cool to see oh wow, I clocked in such and such hours,
And this is definitely one of my favorite RPGs of all time.
It's a fantastic game. I'd never really heard of it until a couple weeks ago when Sean brought it over.
If you like games like Final Fantasy VII, with that combat system, and dungeon crawlers, this is definitely a game you should pick up.
It's a turn-based RPG.
It's not a very long game. You'll probably be investing about 30 hours into the game.
Maybe a little more if you grind.
Yep. Which is definitely how I handle these types of games. And if you could see here, it actually offered a free Grandia 2 music CD.
Really?
Yeah.
But yours doesn't have it, obviously.
No, because you would have to send them for it.
Oh, right. I forgot you told me that. Yeah.
So, another game that involved Chow since we brought this up was Sonic Adventure 2. Now,
this game means a lot to me. To be honest, it is my favorite Sonic Adventure game. As for gameplay, in itself, the aesthetics of the stages.
I remember the first time seeing this. My brother had just bought it home, and everyone was in the attic except for me, and they were playing it, and I was like, yo, I gotta check that out. So I was like, hey bro, can I come up and watch? And my other brother was like, nah, don't let him in. And my other brother, he was so cool. Shout out to you, bro. You know who you are. He was like, yeah, yo, come up. So I would watch it, and he was playing Cityscape.
Oh man!
And when I saw that stage, I was like, "What Sonic Adventure 1 did for me, this did it again."
Oh yeah!
I was like, "There's no way," because it was such a big step in graphics from Sonic Adventure 1.
Yeah.
That I was like, "Is this really running on the Dreamcast?" And another game that did that for me was Shenmue.
I never got to play Shenmue. I've heard amazing things about Shenmue 1 and 2, and we know 3's coming out really soon.
Out of all of the games that ever came out for the Dreamcast, I believe that was that one and the second one were the ones that came the closest to actually pushing the Dreamcast to its graphical limits.
I could see that, yeah. Definitely, from the gameplay or videos I've seen of it and stuff.
And this game was much like Sonic Adventure. you could play as different characters. But this handled it a bit differently.
Yeah.
Basically, you would play as the bad guys or the good guys. And instead of playing, Knuckles stages and doing his type of campaign, the campaigns were combined onto one campaign for each side.
Yeah.
So, for Knuckles, it was treasure hunting stages, much like the first one. For Tails, it was mech levels, right? Mech shooters?
Yeah, the mech shooter levels, which, to be honest, I really didn't care for those growing up.
Honestly, I never really had a problem with them. I love the treasure hunting levels. A lot of people hate the treasure hunting levels.
I don't mind them.
But I actually really like them.
They're fun.
The Sonic and Shadow levels...
They make the game.
I only wish that there were more of them.
Oh yeah, no, there was only like a handful, and I like to just randomly or whenever I play this game, I like to play through City Escape.
Shadow actually has the least amount.
Metal Harbor, the Forest Stage,
Radical Highway.
They're so much fun to play.
The thing with Shadow is he actually has the least amount of stages in the entire game.
I didn't know that, but yeah, now you say that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was gonna say for aesthetics and the gameplay, this is my favorite Sonic game of all time. 3D Sonic game of all time. Adventure, out of the two, I think I like Adventure a little bit better for the overworld. The first Adventure game, I like the aspect of it where you can just walk around in the overworld, and it felt real,
I mean, for me, honestly, if I had to pick between these two, this might surprise a lot of you, but I would pick the first one.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because I had that moment. When it first came out. I had that moment. I saw the orca Sonic running away from the orca, and when I saw that, I was like, this is next generation.
Yeah.
It's happening now. And
it was just a wow moment for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy Taxi.
Oh, hey, it's time for some Crazy Taxi.
My buddy was actually rented this from
really?
Blockbuster.
Blockbuster? Wow, those were the days, man.
No, the funny thing is, if you look at the Marvel disc, look at the Marvel disc. Look closely at the Marvel disc.
I'll be damned. Here, let me see if I can show it.
Yeah. Blockbuster, boy.
Rip.
That's a piece of history right there.
Yup.
Not just because it's a Dreamcast game, but because it's a Blockbuster rental game. But, Crazy Taxi, amazing soundtrack. Yes, there's not a huge amount of variety in this game. I think you would agree.
Oh no, definitely. But I think the soundtrack and the gameplay makes up for it.
In just the aesthetic.
Yeah.
You would go to locations that exist in the real world. You would go to Pizza Hut,
KFC.
Yeah.
Church. The beach.
Yep. But this was one of the most addicting games on the Dreamcast.
Oh my gosh, it's easily one of my top favorite games on the Dreamcast.
I've played some of the sequels. Honestly, I don't think any of them compare to this.
No. My first ever experience with this was, or wasn't this an arcade game?
Yes, it was an arcade.
I could have sworn I played this on arcade.
It was an arcade. I actually played it on the arcade too.
I think I might have played it on arcade back when I was a kid.
Yeah. The weird thing is, I think playing racing games in the arcade is more difficult than actually playing them on console.
Oh, definitely. I did pretty good with this in our gameplay session last night. I played it so much. It's just a fun game just to pop in. If you're bored one evening and you don't want to play a really time-intensive game, you just want to have a good time and just kick back. This game's definitely a great game to play.
I think everyone, even if you're not a Dreamcast player,
this is a must-have.
Knows about this game.
It's a must-have, definitely.
A game that has a lot of great memories for me. A lot of people say it's the best RPG ever made on the Dreamcast, and I would have to agree. And that is Skies of Arcadia. Just the aesthetic of this game alone.
Oh no! It's impressive.
Blew my mind.
I think it impressed me a little bit more than Evolution.
Absolutely. The only game that can even come close to matching this for the Dreamcast would be Grandia 2.
Okay.
which I don't own, but I'm hoping to pick up soon. But the Dreamcast had so many... Phantasy Star Online.
Wow. Is this a 2-disc game?
Yeah.
My god. So this is like... Was this like the only 2-disc game for the Dreamcast, or...?
Shenmue was 4 discs.
Man, that's crazy. My gosh.
Yeah. But this game right here, the gameplay, again, if you like turn-based RPGs, great game. If you like Final Fantasy VII, this is definitely a game I'd recommend checking out. The battle system is amazing. The aesthetic, your air pirates.
Yep.
You got Vice, my boy. The Blue Rogues.
I didn't get to play it too much. I tried it out. I tried it out at his house a while back. I definitely am going to sit down and play it eventually, but I'm working on a bunch of other games right now. So. And
much like Power Stone and...
I heard that's a hard game to find. Skies of Arcadia.
It's an expensive game.
Yeah.
It's I think it's like $100 for a complete copy right now.
Man.
I might be wrong. It might be a lot less than that. But when I bought it, it was a comic book convention, New York Comic Con actually.
Really?
And it was at a booth, and this guy, I was looking to his Dreamcast games, and I saw this, and I was like, "Yo, how much for this?" And he was like, $50, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm good." And I started walking away, and then he was like, No, okay, I'll give it to you for $35. And I was like, "Yep, got it."
I would have been like, "Here's my wallet, sir."
Because at the time, a mint copy of this was going for $300.
Wait, it was mint?
Yes. Perfect condition.
What? That's crazy.
And
$35.
And the game was going for
mint.
The game was going for $300 at the time.
At the time.
Which
was like 10 years ago or whatever.
Yeah, on 10 years ago.
Oh my gosh, dude! I'm scared to see the price of it nowadays for a sealed copy. I bet it's stupid expensive.
I think it's like still $300 for a sealed copy.
Might be a little more.
This wasn't sealed, but the manual, the case, and the disc were in perfect shape. So technically, it was mint. We were talking about Capcom earlier. One of the games I won. We have 2 honorable mentions here. One of those honorable mentions is Capcom vs. SNK. Now, at the time, Capcom and SNK were rivals. And as a joke by Capcom to SNK, because they had Ryo from I don't remember. Someone's gonna correct me, but there's a character named Ryo, and he was in the King of Fighters games and stuff like that. He was basically a copycat of Ryu. He wore the gi, and he would throw fireballs. And there was another character named Robert Garcia with a ponytail. So what Capcom did, which is hilarious, is when they were showing, I think it was Street Fighter Alpha 2, you see a picture of Sagat holding what we would all learn is Dan Hibiki. But Dan, he had the gi, he threw the fireball exactly the same way as Ryo, and he had the ponytail that Robert had.
That's crazy.
So that was Capcom's in-joke. So I guess when SNK found out, they were like, "Yo, let's make a fighting game." And
it's money.
And this came out, and the first time I got exposed to Capcom vs. SNK was the second one on the Xbox. Because the second one did come out on the Dreamcast in Japan only. We didn't get it, unfortunately.
So the only way to get it is to import it and use a disc loader thing.
Yeah. Or import a Japanese Dreamcast.
Yeah.
Do it that way. Which is how I would want to do it. But this is a great game. I love it. We played a lot of this.
Oh, yeah.
Our friend Ian has also played a lot of it. It's a really good game. The graphics on some of the Capcom characters.
Or wasn't this one of the games I experienced for the first time when I went to your house to play the Dreamcast?
I believe so.
Yeah, and every time I think of Marvel vs. Capcom, I think of this, which I know it's not Marvel vs. Capcom. I tend to get Capcom, SNK, and stuff confused.
Well, they're both versus games, and the Marvel vs. Capcom games are definitely more popular.
Yeah.
In a way, unfortunately, more successful.
But, so,
one last honorable mention we want to make before.
You actually just added this to your Dreamcast family yesterday.
But this was a game I played as a kid, actually. Spawn into the Demon's Hand. This game's going up in value, so you might want to pick up a copy if you can. It's an arena third-person battle royale game, basically. It's really good from what I remember. But when I played it yesterday, I just remembered this game. It's a really good game.
Yeah.
But the controls aren't exactly the best. But if you like Capcom games, if you like comics, and considering that the Spawn movie's coming out next year, as well as Spawn for Mortal Kombat, I think this would be a perfect game to add to your collection if you're in the Dreamcast.
Yeah.
So finishing up, the Dreamcast. What a great way for Sega to leave the console market. It was a bittersweet leave for Sega.
Yeah.
And Sega's fans. But God, what a way to go.
This was their last hurrah, into the console market,
Like after the Saturn and that debacle, they did it up big.
Well, this was their last big chance, to make themselves out there, in the console market.
I think had the Dreamcast came out a little bit later, it would have had a much better.
If they were to add DVD compatibility to it.
No, even then you don't necessarily need a DVD player because the GameCube didn't have a DVD player.
You got a point.
So I think had this machine come out a bit later,
it would have done better.
It would have done way better. Unfortunately, Sony, right before the launch of the North American Dreamcast, had already announced the PS2.
Yeah.
So Sony basically managed to keep all of their fans from the original PlayStation and basically said, don't buy a Dreamcast.
We got some better coming out.
Just wait for something. And honestly, a lot of the games that were coming out on the Dreamcast looked better than a lot of the launch lineup for the PS2. Like, if you look at something like Skies of Arcadia, what games could you compare that to that came out for the launch PS2?
Shoot.
Final Fantasy X was a launch title, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if it was a launch title. It might have been.
I think it definitely came out around launch.
I think it came out in 2000.
So I think a better, compare this to Tekken Tag Tournament. Tekken Tag Tournament looks good, but I think this looks better.
Aesthetically, it looks better. Yeah, I could see that.
And Crazy Taxi, such a good game, got launched in the...
if the Dreamcast were to come out a bit later, to be honest, I think it would have lasted just as long as the PS2.
The Dreamcast actually got... The Dreamcast, it ended support in 2002. But it was getting games in Japan until 2007.
Yeah, or there you go. It would have had a good lifespan.
I think the system came out too soon.
It was definitely rushed.
I think if they would have just taken this machine that they have right here, had not made any changes to it, and just released it after the PS2 and the original Xbox, and was the rival of the GameCube, I definitely think this would have done a much better job.
You think it would have beat the GameCube by a possibility?
The GameCube was probably next to the Dreamcast was the least successful. I think had the Dreamcast been around and had more time to grow, I think it could have easily beaten the GameCube. And I know that's a bold claim, but keep in mind that in a lot of ways, this machine's more powerful than the original Wii. So by proxy, it's in a lot of ways a bit more powerful than the GameCube.
Even if you this is another thing to look at the Dreamcast that we haven't mentioned. Systems have taken inspiration from it. Or look at the Xbox.
Well, the Xbox, again, Microsoft CE.
Yeah.
That's the operating system. So Microsoft helped Sega port a lot of PC games.
Yep.
And this, in a way, was the first machine to do cross-platform.
Yeah.
Because Quake 3 Arena, you could play on the Dreamcast against PC players.
Huh. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, because it had the keyboard and it had the mouse.
Same as Phantasy Star and stuff.
And this console, the Japanese version didn't have this, but This was the first console to allow you to go on the internet right out of the box. They give you an internet browser.
Built in.
Yeah. So, let's say you wanted a computer let's say your kid wanted a computer. Buy him the keyboard and mouse. And
then, like, you have to get, like, a disk thing to load the browser up or something like that.
But no, it comes with the Dreamcast.
Yeah. Oh, it came with it.
Yeah, so all you have to do is buy the mouse
and the keyboard, and you're good to go.
And you essentially would have had a
pretty cool.
Very powerful PC at the time.
Well, Sean, I think we pretty much wrapped up everything. Is there anything else you want to talk about it?
We showed one of the Dreamcast magazines, but we didn't really go too in depth. So.
Okay, let's talk about that real quick.
Obviously, one thing that we all know that consoles have nowadays is their official magazines. And Dreamcast had their official magazine.
We actually, he managed to snag these before this nice retro store we had closed down. So this is a good memory to have from that store, right, Sean?
Yeah, like the game we were just talking about, Skies of Arcadia.
Yep.
Originally called
Eternal Arc. Wow, yeah. I didn't know that. Interesting. See, that's why you should hold on to like these promo or magazines and stuff. Like, even if they're like from like Game Informer or whatnot, I think Walmart just started their own magazines. I picked one up the other day.
Honestly, just flipping like my brother had a Evolution 2.
That game's like hardly ever been talked about.
The Evolution series, just in general,
it's like, underrated.
It got both games got re-released for the GameCube under the title of Evolution Worlds. Mm-hmm. And I think that's how most people actually played the titles.
Huh.
But Jet Grind Radio, which we didn't show in this.
Sadly, yeah. Like that's another game that's widely talked about. Space Channel 5. I tried that game out. A friend of mine gave me a complete copy once, a couple years ago, and I ended up selling because I really didn't care for it. Like I thought it was a fun game, but this wasn't really my cup of tea, I guess.
Lara Croft was also. These magazines they don't make magazines like they used to.
No, they don't. This is history right
2,
here.
Which I have, but it's just not as good as the first one.
It's fun. But I think too, like, it's just not it doesn't have that like arcade feel to it like the first one does.
And then when they finally gave it the official name of Skies of Arcadia.
Wow, okay. Huh.
And with every magazine, you'd get a free demo disc. Of games that they were showing off in the magazines.
Really? Oh, that's so cool. Man, you don't get that anymore. Like, all of our demos nowadays are all digital download demos, which, okay, that's cool. You know, you don't have to deal with, like, demo disc and stuff.
But if your hard drive becomes corrupted, then you no longer have that demo. At least with these, if you take care of them.
Some companies are nice, though, and, like, they will allow you to re-download them, like, even though, like, they're not on the shop anymore. I've had it happen.
Yeah, with Scott Pilgrim the Game, which is a game that everyone wishes they could get back. But, like, just look at these covers.
I wish, like, our limited run games can make, like, a copy of that. Of the Scott Pilgrim versus the World game.
And we release it on a cartridge.
Or like a disc or something.
Disc or cartridge, like give it a physical release.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I would love that, but I don't think Ubisoft's gonna go for it.
It would be snagged like that.
This magazine, which is saucy. I'm not gonna show you what I'm talking about because we'll probably get demonetized. But like the first Evolution game, like just look how Japanese that is.
Wow. That is. Like, when I was first looking through these magazines, I was like, oh my gosh, dude. Like, all the history is packed into these. He's like, I'm just being paid to sit here and you guys take a picture of me.
And the awesome thing is they had, like, buying guides for these original magazines.
Wow. Oh, yeah. I remember seeing those.
They even advertised the Sega Genesis, Sega Saturn, and Master System in this.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. It was so crazy. Like I saw the price of the Sega Dreamcast. It was like $200.
Yeah, Dreamcast launched at $200, which was a really good price.
And like, how much we get it for? Like, it's worth like $60 nowadays. Like at your local retro store.
I mean, you have at this point you have no real reason not to.
I say like now would be the best time to buy the Sega Dreamcast because within the next like decade they're gonna get harder to find probably.
And you see, with all of these things,
Mm-hmm.
with all of these great things that the Dreamcast had to offer, it's kind of insane that it died when it did.
Yeah.
Like, we're not gonna go over, how sad we were or the reasonings behind it because we've already gone over that. But we're never gonna see a jump like what we saw with the Dreamcast. Like, you look at the PlayStation 2 and the PlayStation 3. It was a bit of a jump, but I don't think it was significant enough.
Yeah.
To really have the same impact that the Dreamcast did. I don't think enough people appreciated the Sega Dreamcast. It's just really sad because a lot of people who are appreciating it now, like a lot of people who were around for the Dreamcast, could have gotten one at the time.
Yeah.
But chose to ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
Now they want a Dreamcast, and I think it could have lasted a lot longer had those people appreciated it sooner. So the Dreamcast will always be a memory for me. It's a bittersweet memory. The fact that I had to go so soon.
It means a lot more to him than me because you grew up with it, so I didn't.
It was the first Sega console where I was actually hyped for the release of it.
Yeah.
And when I found out that it was discontinued, it hurt.
You were like, oh man, this was so cool,
No,
or you didn't want to accept it.
I didn't want to accept it.
Yeah.
I knew that the Dreamcast had a lot of potential. And unfortunately, a lot of that potential was lost.
It's kind of like me with the Wii U, like when I first bought it, I was like super excited for it and it just didn't have like a lot of like third-party support and stuff.
No, but even with the Dreamcast not having a lot of third-party support, the amount of good games, not just the games that we showed you.
Yeah.
There are more games.
Oh, hundreds.
So many good games for the Dreamcast.
Yep.
And it's kind of unreal.
Yeah.
Because the Dreamcast had everything needed to be successful.
It was just launched in the wrong time, wrong place.
It was launched at the wrong time. Unfortunately, because of how bad the Sega Saturn did, it haunted the Dreamcast.
Yeah.
With the Sega Saturn, Sega lost a lot of the consumer trust that they had built with the Sega Genesis.
The Sega Saturn left people on a bad note, in a certain sense.
The Dreamcast, by all rights, should have been the most successful Sega console.
Yeah.
But because of Sega's bad decisions, unfortunately, it just couldn't live up to its potential.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't take away from the amazing games that this console had. It's fantastic.
Yep.
And I implore anyone who can get their hands on one, give it a try.
Like, just take off the glasses of HD, modern, pixel-perfect games and just play these games and experience the fun that they all have,
The Dreamcast deserves a lot more appreciation.
Like, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with our modern games. I think they're fantastic.
Can I say something? I'll say there's something wrong with modern games. Back when you bought a Dreamcast game, it had to be done. It had to work. Okay? You didn't have to... It had to be done, it had to work. You didn't...
It had to be fully playable.
Fully playable. Okay? You didn't have the option of doing online patches to fix the game.
Yeah.
It had to work. Game companies are taking the whole online patches, they're taking that for granted. And I don't appreciate it.
They're basically doing that so they can get games out quicker and make more money.
When I buy a game, I want it to work day one.
Yeah.
I think the only thing to say now is happy birthday, Dreamcast.
Yep. Happy birthday, Dreamcast.
You brought me a lot of good memories. The hype, the sadness.
20 years.
I would never trade the memories that I had with the Sega Dreamcast. The nostalgia that I had for it.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I saw Sonic Adventure. First time I saw Calibur. The memories just keep... Every time I pop a Dreamcast game on, the memories just come floating back. And I felt like a kid again. I can't believe the Dreamcast is 20 years old. God, that makes me feel old.
It feels like it launched like five or six years ago, or doesn't it, to you?
Yeah, it really does.